When Gerald Ford arrived on the campus of the University of Michigan in 1931, he arrived as a star. He had been an all-state player twice, but now, moving from South High to Ann Arbor in the University of Michigan, he was kicking it up a notch. This was big time. The University of Michigan had a tradition of winning and a tradition of competing for championships.
He was a natural athlete, but he also had a real drive for success. He was very determined. He was very competitive. So if he saw that there was room for improvement, he was the type of kid that was going to work really, really hard to be the best that he could be. One friendship that stands out to me is his friendship with Willis Ward. As college freshmen, they met, kind of knew about each other because both were star athletes. Willis Ward was from Detroit.
They met on the first day while they were registering for classes and became friends, even though they knew they were going to be competing. Not in position, because Willis Ward was a receiver, Gerald Ford was a center, but you were competing. Everybody was competing on that freshman team for this particular trophy, this big silver football that was going to be given out at the end of spring, their freshman year. It's become known as the Meyer-May Trophy. It was just the most outstanding freshman trophy at the time. The coaches decided that, and it came down to, at the end of the day, Gerald Ford and Willis Ward. One of those two were going to win, and ultimately it was Gerald Ford.
They became very good friends. They won a lot of football games together. U of M was a nationally known winning team, but in their senior year, something happened that really tested their friendship and their character, and that was when Willis was benched from a game against Georgia Tech because of the Jim Crow laws of the South. And Willis was the only person of color on the team at U of M at that time. Historically, football teams at the time in our country were all white teams.
Willis Ward was one of Gerald Ford's friends, and Ford was upset over that and almost quit the team over it. But Ward talks him into continuing to play, and so Ford does play. And early in that game against Georgia Tech, one of the Georgia Tech players made a racial remark about Willis Ward, and Ford and one of his teammates decided they were going to do something about it. And the next play, they put that player out of the game. They tackled him hard enough to put him, he was carried off on a stretcher. And he told Ward later, that tackle was for you.
I think that was a real test to their friendship of how they would respond to that situation, but I think it's something that brought them really close together. The University of Michigan beat Georgia Tech in that game. It was the only game they won the whole season. And that season is still the worst season of U of M football to date. As Jerry Ford was graduating from the University of Michigan, he was actually offered 3 different positions on professional football teams, but he turns down all 3 offers. I think in his heart, his goal was always to become a lawyer. I think he had kind of a desire and a thirst for justice. So he decided that his next step, instead of pro football, was going to be Yale University.
When he was at South High, his football team, the 30-30 Club, they called themselves. Thanksgiving morning, they would get together and have breakfast on Thanksgiving, and they kept the tradition alive. They even came to have breakfast with him when he was president. And you have pictures of him in the Oval Office, and if you're to go into the Oval Office, you'll look at his desk and you'll see a pen holder with a football on it, and that is a gift from the 30-30 Club. His team became his family, and he kept in touch with them. And probably my favorite photograph in our museum is the photograph of them as much older men sitting in the Oval Office together, and you can see the friendship and respect for one another is still so strong.